Start recording. All right. So here we have this part that you guys have been working on. And so here's my steps. There's lots of different ways this could be done. This is the way that I chose to. And I kind of, as I was writing it out, I switched things around a little bit. And that's why I like to write it first sometimes. Just to kind of get that practice of knowing my steps ahead of time. Because as I went through here, I was like, oh, I need to do this pattern here, or oh, I should do this feature before I do this pattern. Because at first I had this one here for patterning before I put the holes in the tabs. Like, no, I should do the holes first and then pattern it. So I don't have to do two different patterns right there on the same basic things. And so the way that I'm thinking about doing it is I'm just going to draw the 62 millimeter thing, extrude it from here all the way up to 13. And then I'm going to cut out this little section right here and do it with a revolve cut. Yes, I could. There's a few different ways I could, extrude up. But remember, I like to use the numbers that I'm given. I don't want to have to do the math or anything like that. So if I was like extruding up, I was going to have to do math or subtracts or whatever. And I could do that. But if I decide that, oh, I want this to be 3 and that to be 4, then I have to go back in and change those equations. What's a way I could do that and not have to change equations if I wanted to? If I wanted to be able to use those, do stacks and be able to do subtraction without having to edit the equations every time I change a number. Yeah, use a parameter, right? Or a custom property. That way I can just do it in the dialog box and it would change everything. So that's one way I could do it also. And then I could just make stacks. It's like this subtracted by this and get it. But just kind of a little bit more straightforward way for right now. I'm going to draw that little section, revolve cut it. And then I'm going to, where am I? Draw on the bottom of it, draw that circle, and extrude it with an offset plane to make this slot right here. I'm going to draw it on the bottom and just do an offset plane of, extrude it from an offset of 7 and just tell it to be the 2.5 thick. I could have also drawn that this way and revolved it around, right? I think drawing on the bottom is a little easier. So that's what I'm going to do. And then for here, I'm just going to draw a rectangle and extrude that up. And then I draw another rectangle here and extrude the cut. And put the hole in and pattern that whole thing around. That gets down to here. Then add the fillet. Then do this hole. Then do this hole and pattern it. Do the chamfers and the fillet at the bottom. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the way that I thought through doing it. So now let's do it. So I have my steps. So I'm going to extrude boss. This. Top. Circle. Remember when you're drawing, if you type a number, so if I just type it, actually here, I can't even type, but if I just go in and type it here, does that save? Does that make it constrained? No. Type it in here. Also, it's a radius, right? And I want a diameter. But if I say a number, that's the radius, but it does not constrain it. Look, see, it's still blue. Also, I need to change my units, right? My units are inches. There you go. My inches are inches. Change them to millimeters. And it kicked me out of the sketch. So make sure you try and do that before you start. So just right click, and the edit sketch is right there. Now I'll do my dimension, and that's going to be my 62. Okay. Oh. I put the wrong screen. There you go. Remember, if you turn off one of the monitors, then it'll show it all on the other monitor. And so since I had gotten out of the command, I have to tell it to extrude, and it's going to be 13. Okay. Now I'm going to do a revolve cut. So remember, we have a set of commands for adding material and a whole other set of the same exact commands for cutting material. You pick revolve base, it's not going to make a cut. So pick the right one. And I want to draw on that plane going up and down the middle. Where is it? Yeah, remember the little arrow right here? Got to click there. And now I can pick that plane. And then I want to be able to snap to this bottom edge, right? So a couple of different ways. Maybe I want to grab this edge right here, this silhouette edge. I could either grab that one, or grab both, and tell it to convert entities. And now that projects those things onto my current sketch plane. Now I can draw in what I need to be. So it's going to go from here, up a little bit, in a little bit, up a little bit, and back to there. And I want to trim off anything extra. So I'm going to go trim to closest, and take away that and that. I want only my profile. I don't want any extra stuff. Center lines don't count. But let's say I do want a center line there because I do want to give it a diameter dimension. I want to do a line there. And I want to tell it for construction and infinite length so I don't have to do it. But as soon as I did infinite length, look at what happened. It's not on the origin anymore. Why is that? Why do you think? Yeah, because there's no endpoint. Remember, I had the endpoint of the line on the origin, and then I made it infinite length, and that start point went away. Now it doesn't know. So how can I put that back on the origin? Yeah, so just pick on that line, hold control, pick my origin, and add them coincident. Now it's there. Okay. Make sure that that's locked down onto it. And now I can start dimensioning my things. So dimension from that line to there. If I'm on this side, I just get the radius, slide it over, I get the diameter. So that is my 40. From there to there. That is my 34. Then this line right here is my 2. And this line right here is my 5. Right? That's what I want to cut out. Finish the sketch. And because it had a center line, it's going to revolve around that center line. If not, I could pick the edge of the part. So now I get that. Any questions? All right, so I am to there. Now I'm just gonna do an extrude cut the bottom here. And why don't I do a hole for this? For making that groove. Why don't I use the hole command? It's round, it's cutting into it. Can I make a hole with a flat bottom? Yeah, I can. Yeah, but it's not going like from the surface. It's not a hole, right? It's round, but it's not really a hole. So that's why I'm okay doing extrude. Doing the slot right here. It doesn't start on a surface. So in order to use the hole command, I would have to make a plane where it is and then start there, go only 2, and then change the settings to be a flat bottom. In that case, it's easier just to do an extrude. Now I'm going to make it my 26. and then I'm gonna go offset 7, and then my distance is gonna be the 2.5. And right there. Oh, I want to go that way. And also, remember on the distance, we have a flip also. So I want to start 7 up and then go an extra 2.5. If I did this, I'm just going 7 to the bottom and then 2.5 back down. And I could also create a plane there at the 9.5 and have it go from the 7 to the 9.5. Right? So if I went here, made plane at 9.5, and then I edit that feature, I tell it to go from the offset of 7 to surface, pick that plane. Now it's going to be there. Now that plane is being measured from the bottom. Does that make sense? So lots of different ways depending on how I'm wanting to control it. And I'm just going to turn the eyeball off on that. All right, so now I'm making these pieces up here. I said a rectangle, that works. I want to make sure I'm lined up with my origin. Rectangle from there to there. Then I'm going to pick my origin, control that bottom line, midpoint. That way it snaps it there. I can just tell it be this point here is going to be on there. Point there is going to be on there. And make that construction line. So that way it doesn't cut off my profile. I can tell that to be by 20. And that. So now I have my profile in there. Say OK. So that's going to be my 32 minus 13. Okay. Questions? Extrude cut. There. Rectangle. Make those two tangent. Finish. And then just go up to surface to there. That way, in case I change the height, it'll always go back to there. Questions? And just to be safe, I'm going to add an axis here in the center of it, so that way. But my edge of my part is lined up with that, so actually I don't really need that, right? So I'm going to undo that. So now hole positions on that face over here somewhere. And it is 24 from the bottom. So from the edge there, 24. And then it's on 23 from the center out. So from that edge that's lined up with the center, there, 23. Okay, go back to type. And the size is going to be metric, regular hole, drill size, and through hole. Oh. I went from that edge. It's supposed to be from the bottom edge, right?
Yeah.
The bottom edge there. 24. So make sure you check your dimensions. There we go. And now I can do my pattern. Actually, I'm going to move this there. And that's my last 4 features. So I'm going to do my pattern, my chamfers. Also, before I do that, I should probably save, right? Just in case. Chamfer. I'm going to make it 3 items to chamfer. There. There. Okay. And now I can do my circular pattern of that, and that around there. And that looks very pretty. Got stuff going on inside there. Do I care about that? No, why? I'm gonna cut it out with a hole anyways, right? So I don't need to try and make that look pretty at this point. I could spend extra time and make those all even, but it doesn't matter. It's going away. Pattern those. I'm gonna add those fillets now. Or you can select through the part. You don't have to rotate around. You know where the fillet's gonna be. Find that edge and pick the edge. Add in. Now my hole. Position on that face at the center. And it's gonna be a regular hole, and it's gonna be 20. Cool. Okay. Ta-da. Go. Our space bar gives you this. Both this box and this one. This one here lets you see the cube. And now it's just that counterboard hole. So, hole. And that way. Take it right there. It is on a 50. So it's on a 50 diameter circle from the inside. So I'm just going to dimension from the origin to there. Do an aligned dimension, just pull it out. So not horizontal, just do the aligned one and tell it to be 5. And I should probably also draw a line just so that way, skip that one, right? Otherwise, any endpoint of a line is going to become a hole. And now I can tell it that I want that angle be 15 degrees. So from that edge, that line, 15. So now it's fully constrained. I can see that down here, fully defined. Say OK. Go back to my type. Counterboard hole. And actually, since I know the sizes of this thing, it's a 9.5 counterbore, 5 deep, with a hole that's 5.5. That doesn't look like it's a standard size hole. So I'm just going to use this one, the legacy hole, and tell it to be a countersunk drilled hole, or counterboard, and then tell it that the diameter is going to be 9.5. The 5.5. Counterbore diameter is the 9.5. Counterbore depth is the 5. Through wall. There it is. Okay. And now I can pattern that. Again, pattern that hole around the outside of the part. And then now I can do that last little fillet. And there it is. Okay. So